Hey, Vertigo listeners, welcome back to another episode. Thank you for tuning in. And let's talk a little bit about Air Healing and Wellness. That's EIR, Air Healing and Wellness. If you're not there getting a massage, relaxing, and rejuvenating, sitting in the sauna, or maybe even grabbing a bite at Deja Brew, then what are you doing? Let's go. 5752 U.S. Route 11, Pulaski, New York. That's Air, EIR, Healing and Wellness. You need to get there. Now on to the episode.
Old school. He looks like a radio. Yeah, I say that every one of my. I think I mentioned that. Like when I got the headset on, I'm in the zone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Vertigo. I appreciate the listens. Vertigo is definitely picking up speed, and I can't be more happy than that. One of the things that is going to be coming is social media. So you are about to find Vertigo on Facebook and Instagram, so that will be coming. Vertigo Pod, look for that. And as I'm talking about social media, I am going to be introducing today's guest, who happens to not only be the business owner of Air, who you've heard me mention on the beginning of the podcast several times, doing little shout-outs and commercials for, but is also my wife, and I'm very excited to have her here today. So Minna is here, and we're going to be talking about social media specifically, but yeah, introduce yourself.
Where's the little soundboard with the cheering and the,
oh, that's right.
Boo.
Well, it's a good time. So to bring that up, so I was surprised yesterday. So I know yesterday may not matter in the podcast world, but we're recording this on Sunday. So Saturday I was surprised with a brand new studio. So we are recording now in the Vertigo podcast studio. And it's pretty incredible in here. I got brand new mics, a brand new table, a whole new computer setup, and a whole new audio interface. And so that's the really long version answer of saying that the soundboard with the claps and cheers and things, I haven't figured out how to connect yet to this audio interface. So because I really was excited and wanted to get this podcast released, and kind of keep the momentum going because we are gaining so many listeners, I figured that I would figure out how to use the soundboard with this interface at some point. But yeah, unfortunately, you're just going to have to. We'll just do that.
I'll just cheer for myself.
Yeah. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. As everybody knows who's been following the show, the boys have been on, Zach, Sean, Maddox have been on, kind of talking a little bit about themselves and whatnot. And this is going to be the episode where I think Vertigo starts to take a turn, and I'm really excited about that. So today, Min and I are really going to be talking about social media because we have two different views on it, I would say, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so I am somebody who doesn't use social media at all.
Doesn't like social media and argues the IT nerd side of social media with me constantly.
Yeah.
But to be honest, though, I do have a love-hate relationship with social media, and, I'm not one to not make my gripes known. So there's a lot of things that I do side with you about with social media, but that I try to see the bigger picture. And also as a business owner, and, now we're in 2025, I've learned a lot about social media, and I've learned to look at it in a different way, because when I started my business 4 years ago, I didn't realize how much social media was going to impact my business and the success of my business, and with reaching people that I would never reach otherwise. So I've kind of had a change of heart when it comes to social media stuff in certain views. I mean, I do have a personal page on Facebook. I do have a professional page, and both have their pros and cons. So
Yeah. Hey, let's do a shameless plug for your business. What's your business? Tell us. Well, yeah, let's talk about that. So, what's your business?
So I own Air Healing and Wellness.
That's right.
I am a massage therapist and a master Reiki practitioner. So yeah, we kind of have a wellness center. The spa offers, massage, energy work, sauna, all things healing. We also do also house a wellness cafe. Different owner, but in the same building.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty amazing. And so people kind of gravitate here for healing vibes, good nutrition, good energy, all those things. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I am lucky enough to be able to have the studio here in the spa. And so I think some of that energy definitely spills over here too. Just those good vibes for sure. So yeah, I think as you were talking though, and I think as far as businesses go, so I'm going to talk a little bit about both sides of social media because you mentioned that we have kind of two alternative views on it. I want to preface, I think, by saying that I don't necessarily think that social media is bad. I think sometimes with my opinions, it comes out that I'm shaming or damning it. And I don't think that, I don't know how to describe it, I guess. I don't necessarily think it's an evil thing. I just see that it brings out the worst in people.
No, I would agree too. And I think that people really underestimate the amount of energy we put into social media.
Yeah.
Good,
No.
bad, or indifferent.
Yep.
I'm sure everybody sees the studies and the statistics and the boo-boo shooby-doo. It's real. It's real how much energy we put into social media and all that it entails.
Yeah.
And so I definitely side with you on that because you are very much the type of person to be really choosy as to where you put your energy, and I love that about you. So I see where you're coming from, and so yeah, I don't feel like you shame it or you stick your nose up at it. I personally think that your view is I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah, a little bit.
I have other things to deal with.
Yeah.
And with your profession, I think that you see a dark side of social media and being an IT professional by day. You see a lot of things that we do not. And I do wish that people knew more about that side. But I do see where your energy is really depleted.
Yeah, it's
By
just
the time
sad.
you get done mowing through that darker side of things, and you don't really have the energy to see the good parts. So I get it.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think, because in my work, I like Minna already said, I do IT, which I don't talk a lot about on the podcast. So that's good that I
Blew
do
up your
IT.
spot a little bit on that.
No,
Sorry.
that's good. It's not for any reason other than it's just never come up. But I think that it's important that it does come up because that's true where some of my view comes from is that, I think that I see, especially the older population. So I definitely see an older population that's using Facebook. And unfortunately, there's so many hackers, bad actors, whatever you want to call them, that are using Facebook as a means to grab data from people and they take over their account, and so I do see those
There's a lot of
negatives.
harm. There's a lot of harm.
But what I find interesting, I think more, and we have kids, so is how do you keep your kids safe with it, I think is the hard part, because in the news especially, it seems like in the last year, now obviously TikTok has been the one that has been in the government crosshairs. I don't really want to get into the politics of it because I really don't care that much, I guess. I mean, maybe I should, but I wonder why TikTok is being targeted when, Facebook, Instagram, Snap, there are so many choices for people for social media. And I feel like all of them are guilty in some way or another of not protecting our kids.
Being very dangerous. Snapchat's very dangerous.
I agree with that.
Snapchat is very dangerous. I have a Snapchat. I use it for the filters mostly because I feel like I need them. But, so I don't really do a lot on Snapchat other than use the crazy, stupid filters. But I see the dangers in Snapchat, and you read the horrors constantly. So, yeah, it's very... TikTok being targeted, that's a whole new thing. That has nothing to do with anything other than two governments against each other. And again, I'm
Yeah, I
not
think
going to
so,
get into
too.
that. But, all social media can be harmful across the board. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
It's tough. But I also understand, like you were talking about with the business, where there is a great need for it because marketing in 2025 has changed. And so I think we've noticed that with Air Healing and Wellness, for example, another shameless plug. But I think we've, seriously, right? We were talking about
Very
in
much so.
preparation for this podcast, we were talking about how because of Facebook specifically, you have seen your business grow. And so there's benefits to that.
Very much so. Yeah, because and I'll age myself because I'm creeping on 43 here. But back in my day, it was the newspaper, it was the
Yeah.
swap sheet, it was, billboards and that type of thing. And so when I first opened over 4 years ago, I thought, man, how are we going to get our name out there? We're kind of in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere.
Yep, we're up in Pulaski.
Yeah. Well, and we're in between.
Yep.
Two podunk
We are,
areas
too.
that we love
We
so
are,
much.
too.
But it's like, so I struggled with, man, how am I going to get people to realize that we're out here? And social media really skyrocketed that for me because sure, word of mouth has been amazing. It's been great. That has been proven to be one of the top reasons why our name has spread across really the state. We've got people that come in from all over, but social media is huge.
Yeah.
I have people on my Facebook from states away and,
Yep.
counties away, and they see our stuff and they interact with us. And,
Yep.
Maybe they come in once a year because they're campers or tourists or fishermen or whatever, but they know we're here because of social media
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So,
And that's true. And I think that's the weird part for me because it's like, I feel like, ironically, in even doing the podcast, I feel like I'm a pretty private person. And so I think for me, where I struggle with social media in general a little bit is I feel like it takes some of that privacy away in the sense of, you're right, like people from states away, which is great from a business perspective. But then I feel like, wow, that's so weird in other areas too, that we are just like we're in an era now where if you can Google your name and you can see, I learned shit about myself Googling myself. You know what I mean? Like,
but the truth in that is you do, to a certain degree, have control in that. And I do see where society as a whole is kind of losing control because
Yeah.
there are people that tend to put their entire life out there.
yeah, I know.
Again, I choose to have a personal page where I have like 200 people on there. But those are people that I know, I've met in person.
Right.
They're my family. They're my friends from college that have dispersed across the United
Sure.
States. They
Yep.
know me personally. I can put things on there about my kids. I can share things because they're already privy to that information.
Right.
Where I'm a little bit more in control on my business page of what I put out there. So really, as an adult, adult,
Right.
you have that control over how much you put out there.
Yeah.
And you have to have that self-control, I guess, too, if you
Yeah.
also want to have that privacy.
No, that's a good point. And I think that's the hard part, kind of rewinding it back and thinking about it from a parent perspective is, yes, as an adult, hopefully, we've met people who buck that idea, but hopefully you have some idea of how to keep yourself safe, what should be private, what should be public, yada, 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 right? But where I worry, too, is, like, there's no filters for kids, and kids are so... what's the word?
Not naive. They're naive.
They're naive,
They're
but
naive.
also they're living in the moment.
Yeah.
Most kids, at least, they're in the moment and they're not thinking about what I do now could sneak up and haunt me. Because
Oh, my God.
I freak out thinking like employers can look at Facebook and it's like, on one hand, it's like, well, that's not okay. Why should they be able to do that? But on the other hand, it's like,
But they can.
yeah,
It's
but
real.
well, yeah, and if I'm hiring somebody to represent Vertigo, for example, do I want them to be a hot mess? Like,
Well, no, and I've come across that too. Where I don't have like a super strict policy with my employees. We just come to an understanding, and I try to obviously hire people that have good integrity and things like that. I mean, it goes into the bigger picture, but, my employees do know that what goes out onto their page does reflect on myself and my company and things like that. And we do have an agreement, and obviously I don't employ a lot of people, but over the years, I have had to kind of turn people away. In particular, there was an individual that I thought would be really good here, but had some pretty intense political posts on their Facebook. And, here, for me, in my business, this is an all-inclusive place.
Yep.
I mean, we have all walks of life come in here from all religions. I have Amish community that come in here that I just adore. And so I do feel like we have to toe that line of respect. And
absolutely.
I can't have somebody that is so wildly out there that could potentially make people feel uncomfortable walking into my space. And they are a direct reflection of me. So it's like I struggle with that because I love people for who they are, and I never, ever want to tell them who to be and how to act. But I also have to have that understanding that as a business owner and as a place of welcoming and healing, that I need to have a safe place for all. So it's tough for me. It is.
Yeah, I never thought about it. And this actually is going down a discussion that I didn't even really think about, but I think is so great because you don't really think about it. And I guess this is my other thing with social media is, it's one thing for my immediate family or for you as my spouse to know like what my beliefs or what my core values are, right? But I think the thing with social media in general is it's very easy to then put that stuff out there and not really think about it's like, I guess some things should just be private, And I think I keep wanting to say Facebook, but it's not just Facebook, so I got to be careful. It's social media in general. I think there's a false sense of like, well, this is my belief and I'm going to put it out there and you should just like, fuck it. You should just agree with me. And I think that's where some of the negatives lie is that people like, no, people are still allowed to have their opinions and maybe some things are just better kept within your own walls.
But that's where that's where that love-hate relationship that I have with social media comes in, because I see a side, and I'm an overthinker. I see myself as a critical thinker. Social media social media has brought out a level of audacity that me call me old school, whatever, I have such a zero tolerance for.
Well, we were kind of talking about that earlier, too, actually. So here's a peek. So it's not social media, but you get a peek in the podcast, I guess. So we were talking in the kitchen as we were kind of coming up with the thought of what we were going to be talking about on the podcast. And you had talked about how, being a business owner, you've had to make sure that you put posts out there with grace.
Yes. And now, rewind, before I owned a business, I didn't have a lot of grace.
Right.
And I didn't have the professional filters that one might need to have. And,
Right.
that's where I get irritated because, me personally, I've been put in positions where things have come at me on social media that are pretty wild. And then you see this person or these individuals face to face.
Right.
And it's a completely different story. And nothing makes my face go haywire faster than that type of situation. You've had the audacity to be on a level on social media, and then you don't back it up face to face. I have a huge problem with that. I've been known to show up in people's driveways, and I'm not going to lie.
Right.
However,
I think I was with you on that trip.
yes. So I struggle
Yeah.
because for me, and this just goes on the conflict level. If you have a conflict with me, for instance, come talk to me.
Right.
Don't go at me on social media.
Right. Keyboard warrior kind of thing.
I'll go at 100 on that.
Yeah.
And I won't participate
Right.
social media. I'll be in your driveway.
Right.
I'll come talk to you about it. I want to have a
right.
conversation. I don't want to do the audacity thing. Like, and that's where things like that upset me, because as a society, in my opinion, and these are all my opinions, we've lost that level of connection where we can communicate and agree to disagree with people and have conversations with people. And I've got a tight grip on that. I want to have a conversation with you.
No, it's
I mean, if
true.
you don't
It's
like
true.
me, that's fine. You just go join the group to
Right.
the left.
You don't
It's
have to be
big.
everybody's
right,
favorite.
Right,
Right.
And it's not about being liked.
Right.
Because I don't care about that. It's about having the audacity to not like somebody and just be rotten.
Yeah.
And just and then seeing them in person and being completely fake or completely different. Like, just don't do that. That's
No,
the side of social media that I get irritated at, and I can go on a rant forever, but we as society have lost those communication skills
Yep.
and the conversation skills, and people are just mean.
I think you're right. I kind of see it, so one of the things that I was thinking about too, as I talk about social media, is how much. So there's two things that I see that have happened, and I kind of want to hear your opinion on this. There's two things that I've seen happen. So one is we have a generation now, pretty much our age group, who grew up with MTV and started with The Real World as a reality, and that kind of kicked off the whole reality TV phenomenon that is still going strong today. But I wonder how much of that is coupled also with Facebook, right? Because reality TV gives supposed everyday people all of a sudden they're on TV, right? Whether it's Survivor or whether it's some of the shows that you watch, like the Real Housewives or whatever. So you've got this kind of, I'm thinking in the vein of life imitating art or art imitating life, whatever, but I see two things kind of have happened. So we've got a generation that's grown up with reality TV where it's not really A-list stars who are on TV. It's supposed everyday people. I mean, we can argue what reality TV is. I don't care. But then we've got social media where social media almost gives us a platform to be reality stars in a sense. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, in my opinion, people almost go looking for drama. And that's kind of where my problem with social media has come up. It's not that I necessarily hate it. I love the idea of it.
Sure.
I remember.
If used correctly.
Yeah.
If used with positive energy. And this is where, listen, shout out to the Osbournes.
I know.
That's my jam on reality, because they didn't give a sweet shit who was in their living room filming them. They were
the Osbournes.
And they were a mess. And their dogs were shitting on the floor.
Yeah.
And they're cussing at each
So
other.
true.
And they're slapping the shit out. Like, that's my life.
Right.
Can you guys adopt me, please? Osbourne's, like, I'm your jam.
Yeah, right.
It didn't feel scripted to watch them. Yeah. Where things do now feel very scripted and very pushed and very, shoved in a certain direction as I watch reality TV. But I also see that on social media. To me, social media is just a giant platform to keep up with the Joneses.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's a comparison.
Yeah.
It's I love watching people pat themselves on the back and do a good job and uplifting others. I love the encouragement. I love seeing kids grow and families grow and things like that. And it's like, yes, boast, toot your own horn, pat your own back, do all those things. But the level of comparison that I see makes me kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these people I know in real life, and it's like,
And I think that's the danger
not
for
true.
kids,
Yeah.
I think, is the comparison
and
stuff.
the pressures.
Yeah, because we come from such a society of comparison now that's where I see the biggest bullying, or even just it's a slippery slope, I think, for kids. Like, I worry about that for sure.
One of my major gripes, again, we'll go back onto the gripe list, is the level of bullying that I see from grown adults.
Well, that too, right? How can we, yeah, it's ridiculous.
And how dare we get on kids about their behavior
When
and
we
our
can't.
expectations of them not to act a certain way when they're watching us.
Yeah.
But because we think that because we're above the age of 18 and we're adults and we can do that, no, ma'am.
Do as I say,
no,
not
sir.
as I do.
Keep your shit together. Your kids are
Yeah.
watching. My kids are 20, 25 up and up, and I will still uphold a certain level of expectations for myself and for my kids, because they're not going to see me go out of character. And
Right.
just because I'm an adult, I get to bully. No. And I see so much bullshit from adults. I cringe. And I can't even look at these people the same anymore. And I'll say it. I'm not a judgmental person per se, but social media does make me look kind of have different perspectives of people that I know in my personal life
Right.
when I see their bullshit online.
Right.
You know, because it's like, reel it in, sister. Reel it in, sir, because you're being a complete asshole. And I do struggle with that. I struggle because we expect our children to not be bullying. And I'm so sick of seeing the phrase, do better, do better, do better. Well, go get a mirror and do better also.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, too, with social media. And again, I don't want it to be just a hate session, but because, like I said, I do think that there are things that are good. We'll talk about that, too. But one of the things that I find very disheartening is like it all of a sudden becomes very easy to preach to people about how they, quote unquote, should be acting. And I have this saying that a therapist once gave me, and I wish I could tell you the therapist's name that gave it to me, but I can't, which I don't know if that says that I've been in therapy a lot over the years. No, just kidding. No, but I had a therapist tell me that we should never should on ourselves. And I've always loved that saying, like, we shouldn't should on ourselves, you know. But one of the things that we see a lot is, you know, people commenting on how people should be acting. But yet, we don't look inward at that and how we're, you know. So I think that's one of my things, too. It's like we talked about in the opening of the podcast on how social media has just brought kind of this evil out of people to be these keyboard warriors. And then I think you marry it with life imitating art, like I was talking about, with reality TV and what we see, which I want to actually switch gears just a little bit.
I just want to add one more.
Yeah, do it.
One more thing on that.
Yeah,
is,
absolutely.
You know, because this is one of the things that I wish people would get their wheels turning a little bit more. Maybe my age, maybe younger. I don't give a shit if you're ancient or
you can
5. You know, there's a lot of bitching. There's a lot of bitching for change. There's a lot of preaching. There's a lot of you should. And you're completely right. What happened to the days of writing petitions and rallying and, you know, instead of just posting a paragraph and bitching, rally a group at your house and have conversation how to make real change.
Yeah.
Because I'm very sorry to everybody to hear this. You bitching on Facebook isn't changing anything.
Well,
it's not. It's just perpetuating an issue. Let's go backwards and figure out like how to make real change. If there's an issue locally in your own home, in your own community, at your school, do something different. Bitching about it on social media will not change. It only perpetuates negativity. I've seen it a million times over. So I won't keep harping on that, but those are my gripes as far as social media.
Yeah, you're right.
It just takes that connection and it's frustrating. It's frustrating
no, again, it's kind of brought, I mean, it's brought some of the flaws of our, like, I love sociology and stuff like that.
Same.
And so I pay attention to the group mind. And, you know, we could go way down the rabbit hole with this stuff and talk about algorithms and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think it just gives people a place to like bitch, I guess. And I don't
go to
really
a town
get
hall
it,
meeting, go to a chamber meeting, go, you know, form a group that could really make like real life changes.
Yeah.
Social media bitching does not make real life changes, in my opinion. I've not seen it. And if somebody can show me otherwise, fantastic. But very rarely will just bitching on a social media post bring real change.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's how TikTok got targeted, from my understanding, is the government started to say, and again, I don't have facts to back this up right now. I mean, and I guess I can get them and put them in the description. I apologize, but excuse me. One of the things that TikTok was being targeted for was because the government was saying that China was allowing ads or bullies, something targeting youth. And again, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole in that because I don't have the proof, but that was kind of what I had heard at one point, and it made me start thinking in general, like, yeah, social media is definitely a place that kind of quote unquote grooms young people in general. I don't think it's just TikTok. Again, I think that's across the board. But I said I was going to take kind of a swerve. One of the things I noticed, and Minna and I talk about one of her loves is trash TV. but one of
Only on my day off.
Yeah, well, and it's all good. We all got our vices. And I love that about you, that you have your vices, because you don't get a lot of downtime. You're busy. You're running. So, but anyway, one of the things that I noticed, and I found it very interesting, and how this ties back with the TikTok conversation, is you were watching a show on Netflix, and I want to say it was, what's the show where they all sit in pods and it's like speed dating, but they're in pods and shit?
Oh.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
What is it?
Love is Blind?
Or
Love is
something like
Blind.
that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got the American version, because now with Netflix, you've got 16 versions of Love is Blind. You got Love is Blind Dubai. You got Love is Blind Mars.
Korea.
You got, yeah, right. Great. But in all honesty, you were watching Love is Blind, I think, UK. And what I noticed was, so anybody who doesn't know, and if you don't know, you've been under a rock for like 20 fucking years and you need to come out from under it. But all these reality shows have a very formulated thing. Right, these types, the dating and like Love Island, and I don't know, I can't even name them all. Yeah. But right, they have a show, and they have the season, and then at the end of the season they have a reunion episode, right? And they all follow the same format. So anyway, where I'm going with this is, hang on, I'm getting there. With the Love Island, or no, fuck, not Love Island. With the whatever, they're in the pods, they whatever. So, but what I noticed about the UK show is they demonstrate healthier communication. Do you remember that?
Yes.
It's much different than how the American show, like
the United States will take the reunion to most show, and they highlight the negative parts.
That's that's where I was going.
Do you remember when Jessica told Timothy, and it just goes into this dramatic explosion where you're right. The UK's like, what did you learn from communicating?
It was very different, modeling very different behavior, wasn't it?
Very much so.
And I picked that up almost immediately, which made me wonder, because obviously I'm sheltered. I haven't really I've been to Canada as far as other countries go. But yeah, I was very actually surprised by how our reunion shows on American TV are very Jerry Springer.
Yeah, yep.
And theirs wasn't.
And why do we love that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why do we love that? Because I found myself drawn to the UK version where they're like,
me too.
What skills did you learn from Timothy telling you he didn't like red shoes or whatever the frickin' was? You know what I mean? No. It's so true. And again, we could go down this rabbit hole all day, but for those critical thinkers out there like me and who just completely overanalyze the shit out of everything like I do, it's so true. I look at those things. I pick up on those things. I'm so hypersensitive to picking out those things, and I'm not really sure why trauma brain maybe, but
that's a whole nother show.
We'll schedule that one at a different time, but it's different. So I see that on a lot of social media platforms where somebody will put up a post of needing a recommendation as to where to get their oil changed,
right?
And so people will say, oh, go here, and other people will say go here, and then 16 other people will say go here, and then you got those people that are like, well, that place is just a piece of shit, and their coffee was dirt, and it's like, come on,
right?
Like,
it's true.
Why can't you just not answer? Why can't, if you're not gonna put down a place, can you just? And so I mean, and it's not social media's fault. That's a personal issue.
No, it is.
So again, I don't want to harp on social media as a negative thing, but it just, I think, allows people to amplify their own personal faults. Like those type of people are just miserable. Right. They have shit energy. They need some type of therapy, whether it's massage. Hi, I'm here. Or
shameless plug.
Or go sit in somebody's office and figure out why you're so damn miserable. Right. So again, that's not Facebook's fault. That's not Instagram's fault that you're a complete asshole. You know.
And that's a good point though, because I think
you're in control. You're in control. So yeah, we can sit and harp on it. It does suck that these platforms give you that freedom, but it is more personal. And I think that if people looked at themselves more and at others less, we could turn that
Yeah.
around.
It's kind of like this contradiction of, right? Like we can be upset. We can be upset because we learned about nuclear energy and from that gave birth to the nuclear bomb, or we can be grateful that of nuclear energy because of nuclear power plants and the good things that have come out of it. I think for me, I think it
Choices.
all comes back, to personal responsibility. But I do also think, so I hear what you're saying. Like we can't blame Facebook, Instagram, whatever, for becoming what it's become. But do the people who create it have any responsibility? I kind of think, because you're setting a precedence, right? Just like, for example, going back to taking it off of social media, the heat off of social media for a minute and thinking about reality TV, right? There's two ways to market it, right? The UK way, which seems to be much more polite and educational, or the Jerry Springer way, which is the American mind. And I look at, so like, does Mark Zuckerberg, as the head of Meta, have any responsibility with how people act on his forums?
I'm torn on that because who wants to babysit? And let
Yeah,
me
I know.
bring it to a different level.
Sure.
Okay, let's take it off social media for a minute. I used to bartend.
Okay,
Love,
fair enough.
Love bartending.
Sure,
I love being
absolutely.
social.
Fun.
It's fun until you have to babysit grown people.
Right.
So when I have to say you can't have another drink, you've had enough, and I get a man fit, and you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
how I didn't care for that part of my job because I don't feel like I should have to babysit grown adults who should know how to drink responsibly. Okay,
Right.
so why put that on somebody who started a social media platform? They can't babysit 1 trillion people.
True.
They can't moderate 1 trillion people. Here's what it comes down to: full-on accountability.
But do they set a precedence? Because now, I'm going to use your analogy of the bar. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Sure.
Because I love this kind of stuff. So for me, it's like, okay, I can go to, because we all know that one bar. Okay, let me put it this way. When I was growing up in Oswego, all of us in high school knew the one bar that we could get into underage and drink without a problem, right? We all knew that. But we also knew the establishments that weren't going to put up with that shit, right? So who set those precedents? Was it the bar owners or was it the people?
Sure, but and I 100% agree with that. But the scale,
I know.
the scale
Yeah.
is just completely different. And yeah, but here's also where we could take it back even before social media. You know, why as a country do we crave certain behavior?
Chaos.
Correct. So then, because I mean, we can bring it back to just regular media, news. You know, news tends to show things that will put us in an upheaval, will get us amped up, will get us, hyped so that we'll keep watching. You
Right.
know, and typically it's negative. It's not positive. You
Right.
know, and so as a society, I think that precedence was already there.
Yep.
And then here come the social media, and that just amplified it.
Yep.
So where do you start with the precedence?
No, it's true.
You know, I think that society needs a complete overhaul, and that's a whole
Yeah.
different 16 podcast episodes, I'm
Oh
sure.
my
But
God, yeah.
you know what I mean? As far
Right.
as a sociology perspective, things just shift and they change and they evolve. And so, Facebook can't babysit. They can't.
No, I agree, yeah.
Instagram can't, and they do. They try. There's moderators. There's, they're implementing certain ways to help filter out a lot. But at the end of the day, if we as individuals looked into ourselves
Yeah.
and held ourselves at a higher expectation and accountability, I'm huge on accountability if you know me. If you were accountable for yourself and your behavior and how you carried yourself,
Yep.
I think that shift would happen a lot faster.
Yeah.
Because we're
I agree with that.
we're in a time frame where it's easier to blame and point fingers.
No, I agree with that.
So again,
No, it's true.
I love and hate social media, but at the end of the day, we're the human beings behind
Well,
the keyboard. We need to
I agree.
control ourselves. We need to figure out who we are as individuals. We need to want to love ourselves enough to represent ourselves in a way that is obviously positive and better. I mean, nobody's perfect. I'm a complete shit show. We all know this. Anybody who knows me, you know, I'm a shit show and a half. Stop it. You know, I do regularly check myself. I do allow for constructive criticism. I love when I can be, I guess, checked. You know what I mean? And not in a negative way.
No, you're right. It's all the delivery and
Yes,
how it's done,
and
for sure.
And that's only because I have done enough self-work on myself to allow those types of things to come to me.
Right.
So, again, social media can be a nightmare, but at the end of the day, we have to be accountable. We have to be better people. We are we're not the robots.
Right. No, I agree with you.
So that's my thing. And, you know, and to shift it, there are so many things that I've learned on social media. Again, I've watched my friends' kids grow.
Yep.
One of my best friends is in Florida. We don't talk a lot because she's very busy. I think she works nights. I'm very busy, you know, but I've known her kids from babies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've seen them grow. I've kept in contact with a lot of my college friends that have gone off and done things.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've also learned about places that I want to put on my bucket list for travel. I would never do that. I would never
Right.
know that if I didn't have social media. Recipes, you're welcome.
Right. Yeah, no.
You know?
Well, that's the thing. And that's what I mean. There is
I
so
don't want to
much.
shit on.
Yeah. No,
You
and
know,
that's it
it's
is.
so
It's
easy
hard.
to shit
It's hard.
on.
It is. It is. Because again, I think it is a good reminder that there are so many things that are good about it, and
even
those
TikTok.
connections, and yeah,
There's such a gray cloud over TikTok.
there is.
But I'm going to tell you, I have this one friend. I'm not going to mention her name. She's cute as hell. But this individual has been on TikTok for years. And so she would be at the gym on the treadmill. And she would be roaring with laughter with her
I know what you're
headphones.
talking
I don't
about
even
now.
think she knows how loud she was. And I'd, you know, be over there half dead, sweating on the floor with my trainer, who was a nightmare. But I would have to stop and laugh at her because she is finding so much enjoyment with videos with, like, puppies doing stupid shit.
Well,
and, like, you
yeah.
know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I know.
just to see her laugh hysterically. Now, she was training for bodybuilding. I'm sure that whole regimen was a complete freaking mental nightmare.
Yeah,
She's
so
exhausted.
this gave a release.
So to watch her laugh and listen to her laugh, and she, you know, like,
And we
like
need more of that. We need more of that,
right? So
for sure.
where's the harm?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I agree with you. I think, and we need more of that. And I feel like back in the day, so I'm going to kind of age myself here, but I remember MySpace. And I feel like MySpace, everybody was friends with Tom. Did anybody ever really meet Tom though? Like, did Tom ever comment on anything? I don't know if that happened.
Rude.
Yeah, really. But no, and I remember MySpace, I felt it, and again, it all comes down to user experience as I'm thinking about it and retelling the story. But I remember MySpace being like this place of support, and because at the time I was recording music. And I would post a lot of my music because you remember how you could design Facebook so you could have you could code it and you could have like sparkles. And,
Oh, I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, I know. Like, and
I changed my music like every day.
yeah, like right. I mean, and there was all this stuff. I can't believe that MySpace died the way that it did because Facebook to me is so fucking boring.
Yeah.
You
In
get
comparison.
one template. And you can't do and I think that's kind of where my turn. I was like,
You can
MySpace is done.
personalize it. So
Yeah. Facebook, they don't let you, it's like,
you do a cover photo and a profile picture, a la-ti-da.
yeah. And it's the same fucking boring colors. Like,
And this is where I thought I was so cool because anybody who knows me knows that I have a hard time turning my own TV on because I hate tech stuff.
but you could code
I
MySpace.
coded the backgrounds, like,
Yeah, they
I
had
was
all
so
those
cool.
code generators.
I think it was copy and paste, but you know what? Whatever.
It was, but it was cool. You could get onto a website and you could, there was code generators, right?
Yeah.
And you would basically like, you could pick what you wanted
But
and
with
whatnot.
MySpace, you know what I saw, and now this comes back to memory for me. You could pick your top 10 friends. So if
that's right.
So if I went
forgot
on,
about that.
so that was like a fuck you.
Yeah, it was too.
Oh, you're not on my top 10. So, you know, if
I forgot about that.
So that perpetuates
There it is.
an issue.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I'm
forgot
not
all
on
about
Bobby's
that.
top 10. What the fuck is his
Yeah,
top 10? You know, it's like
Which really makes it a problem when you have like what did you say you have on your personal feed?
36.
Yeah, 236. So I could see like that's going to be a problem. How do you pick your top 10? Like I don't know how you would do that.
And
I
not piss somebody off or offend somebody.
I guess I was in the clear because I only had 9 friends. I had space for one more on MySpace.
There's
Okay,
Tom.
yeah,
One was Tom.
Okay, so 8 now. All right, I had 8 friends because Tom. No, but in all seriousness, like I think I just I guess I remember seeing kind of this slow decline, and you're right. I forgot all about that about the 10 top friends, but yeah, and so. Yeah, I think it's just what we make of it, for sure. Because I think, here's the thing, I think at the end of the day, we're in a world where social media exists. And so we have to figure out how to navigate that. And I think we also had to figure out how we have to be just better as people.
Yeah.
We have to step up.
But better as people, I'm going to go even further and say better as an individual. Stop getting on Facebook and telling people to do better. Shut up.
Unless you're willing to do better.
Correct.
Yeah.
Set that precedence and just word it differently. It's just annoying, and self-reflection is huge. Huge. Do it.
Yeah.
Social media or not, just do it.
I just wonder I wonder like where did that come from? I guess from a greater group mind kind of thing. Like what was it? And it's probably not it's probably not a plot on a graph, so to speak, but like what changed to get people to be so just hateful to one another? You know what I mean? Like what is it how did we get from encouragement and celebrate? Because Facebook kind of was like the place where you could celebrate like milestones and birthdays and anniversaries and
the
connect.
Pressure to compare ourselves to one another.
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling insecure, or if I'm feeling, lower than the next guy, I'm, as human behavior, if I don't have my mind right, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to boost myself and make myself look better and get on this, soapbox and tell you to do better.
Yeah.
Really, I'm having an insecurity.
And really, I need to do better.
And really, I need to do better.
Yeah.
But people don't recognize that. People don't reflect on those things because they're not in that stage of healing. And I go a little wonky because I'm obviously, live in a realm of myself where I am constantly working and constantly healing, and I'm on this, soul searching journey. That's
absolutely.
that's just me.
It's also the nature of your work.
Very much so. That's what I was getting at. Thank you. So I think that pressure, that societal pressure to keep up with the next guy, also brings out that dark side of insecurities of people where if they're having an off day, it's easier for me to tell you to do better because I'm feeling like a big fat piece of shit for whatever reason. And it doesn't make it okay. You know?
It's like nitpicky.
I like to say, let's do better.
Well, yeah. We all need to do, right.
Get your finger out of the goddamn air. Stop pointing at people. Shut up. Let's do better. Me included.
Yep.
Call me out. Tell me.
All of us.
Let's do better at doing, things together and making a difference.
Yeah, I think that kind of put a light bulb on for me. I had this aha moment as you were talking, and I think part of it is we're not very reflective anymore. We're just it's so easy to almost use Facebook or social media in general as a diary, and we forget that we're kind of putting that out there, I think, too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that everybody, I guess my thinking is it's not always about like necessarily, some people I think like to pick fights, but I think some people just vent out there without realizing that you're putting that out in a public space. And sure, there are going to be people that agree with you, but there are going to be, and that's what starts the whole
Yeah.
like drama roll kind of going on, because we don't think about it. It's not a personal blog or vlog or something where it's Facebook, and
I mean, but it can be. You just have to use a little bit of self-control.
Yeah.
And here's my thing, too. I think I've been guilty of this many of times. I do try to do better for myself in this aspect, but I think we need to understand that people grow and change and evolve.
yeah,
I'm not shitting you, and I know there's people out there that are going to laugh. If we had social media back in my day from when I was a teenager or an early adult, there wouldn't be a damn soul that respected me in the
right,
you know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
I was
I
not
mean,
the
that's
same
true.
person.
Right.
I was not the same person. I did stupid shit.
Well,
I was a
we learn.
partier.
Yeah.
Right. I was very early, if not at the beginning of my healing journey with my own, childhood
Yeah.
stuff and mental health stuff. And so I coped different. I reacted different. I was
Yeah.
probably a freaking asshole. You know what I mean? So it's like, if the people that have just met me recently knew me then, I don't know if they'd have the same perspective of me.
No, that's true.
You
I can
know,
understand
and
that.
social media really kind of takes away from that allowance for people to see evolution in other people.
Yeah.
You know, people have bad days. People have bad months. People have bad years. That doesn't define them. And,
Yeah.
who I was 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, they're all vastly different.
Yep.
And we also have to remind ourselves of that. But when you put stuff out on social media, it locks you in
Yeah.
to those time frames. One of the biggest things that I like to say is you meet people where they're at.
Yep.
And you taught me that,
Yeah. Well, thank you.
we have to have looser expectations in some aspects. Like, you can't expect somebody to be on point all the time.
Yeah,
And,
no,
and
it's
this
true.
goes back to
It's
me as
true.
a business
Grace.
owner.
We need grace.
Yeah.
We need a little more grace.
I have a business to run, but I also have life
Yeah, you got a
on the other
personal
side of my
life. Yeah.
door, and so we do have to do better at knowing that people are going through hard times or good times or whatever.
Yeah.
We are all a roller coaster of change and evolution, and social media strips that sometimes, and
Yeah.
we have to do better at just knowing that, okay, this person is going through a hard time, they're going to come out better after this, and they might be different next week.
Yeah.
That doesn't give us a right to tear them down or ask questions or...
Yeah, we're so quick to attack. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
We're so quick because it's really, again, it goes back to kind of what I was saying. There's no filter. It's keyboard, from mind to keyboard, not realizing that once you hit enter, it's out there, and we don't get to redact it
Yeah.
necessarily.
I think for me, the message would be to take a step back, look at yourself, stop trying to control others, stop trying to point out at others, uplift and encourage instead of tear down
We need
and
more
pick
of
apart.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that social media will shift accordingly.
I think so. I think in some ways it is. I think that because there's been a new pressure on social media, especially for our kids, there's definitely a clear message that we need to do better for our kids. And like you were talking about several times in the podcast, and it's so true, about the comparison type stuff that goes on. And I think that is so true. And I hope now that does kind of bring a shift in people's thoughts and minds, because our kids are important, and what messages we give them, they are then going to turn and carry into adulthood. And so I think we need to, be cognizant of that and hopefully make positive change for them so that they
It starts
can.
with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It starts within yourself, and then it ripples out to the people around you, and then
Yeah.
they pick up on that, and it ripples out, and it's just, that's how shifts
Yep.
come about. That's
Yeah.
how things change. It really is just about us as an individual.
Yep.
Now, if you want to use social media as a tool, which I'm excited for you to kind of bend a little bit.
I am. I'm going to bend.
You're doing so good.
I'm gonna.
You're gonna bend. You're
I
gonna
am.
do some social media platforms for Vertigo.
Sure am.
So proud of you.
Well, it is. It's time to take this to the next level, I think. I feel that Vertigo has taken a turn from being just a scratch pad of satire and, I don't know. I don't know what... I know a long time ago there was a conversation that was had between... and this is how long this conversation... So I've talked about this before on the podcast. So real quick, Matthew and I were doing On the Rocks, and almost every time after we would shut the mics down and kind of, do a closing, we talked about how cool it would be to do a podcast of introspect and kind of talk about some deeper level stuff. So I am very proud now to be at the point where I feel like Vertigo can deliver that. And I want to have more discussions like this where we really kind of get into like human behavior and psyche and stuff like that. And just kind of, hopefully in our small corner of the world, maybe make some type of social change for the better, because as I'm starting to approach 50, I'm starting to kind of hold a different type of introspect, I guess. Now, spinning that around into Vertigo and marketing, absolutely Vertigo is going to take a step into social media land. And so you will soon see, Vertigo listeners, Facebook, Instagram, and all of that good stuff.
And there's going to be positive because, sure,
I think so, too.
algorithms are creepy.
Sure they are.
They're a little unnerving sometimes.
Absolutely.
If I have one more conversation in the car about Home Depot with you, and then it comes up on my, I'm going to probably tweak.
Right?
But here's the positive side of that, and I always want to try to look at that. The things that you talk about on this show, where you see Vertigo going as far as life experience, introspect, sociology stuff, and some deeper things, a lot of mental health stuff.
Yeah,
I love that
absolutely.
you're touching on that. But here's the thing. There are so many people that live in the dark.
Yep.
And the algorithms may help with connecting you with people that you are going to make a difference with, and that are going to, and I can only say this because I deal with this with my clients. So my clients walk in here, they're new, they're getting a massage, and whatever. That's what you come in here for. You're coming to get a service. And then they choose to chit-chat with me and learn, holy cow, I have a lot in common with this person.
Right.
We have a lot of parallels. Holy cow, she went through that. I went through that.
Yep.
And my other employees, too. I mean, we are human beings. And you connect with people, and you leave here, and I've left here, and I can't speak for my clients, but I've left here going, holy shit, I met the coolest person today.
Yeah, right. No, I've heard you come
her on
home
Facebook.
and say that.
Yeah, I've seen her on Facebook. I never knew she was dealing with that. I never knew she...
We only get a snippet.
Right. I never knew she crocheted Christmas tree. You had no idea. And
what's really there.
And so I love those connections, and with the things that you're going to be talking about on Vertigo here and forward, you don't know the impact that you're going to make.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Well, I hope that's true. It will
100% be true.
Yeah. I want people to be impacted. I want people, like when I say, I guess this is a good time to say this too, the tagline for Vertigo is make your head spin. And really what that means to me is getting people to think about things from all sides, because I've had to do that, right? We can stay in we're always going to have our own values, morals, beliefs. That's always going to be our core. But I've learned that we can grow so much when we just, I'm not saying change your values, morals, and blah, 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 but if you just take a minute to listen to what the other person is saying and where they're coming from, and it's kind of like the old school, like walk in their shoes kind of ideology.
Just be open-minded.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And one of the things, too, that I've found very important
100%.
in my healing journey personally, validation.
Yeah.
So, for the longest time, I was a solver.
Yeah, right.
I'm an empath. People bring problems to me. I need to solve it. If I can't solve it, I lose my shit.
Yep.
And I just spin and spiral. Okay, so I have now got myself to this place where I realize that sometimes there aren't solutions to things.
That's right.
But just being there to validate for somebody their feelings, or for me to listen to something and be like, holy shit, I thought that once. I thought I was a weirdo.
Yeah.
Just that validation alone is so freaking huge. So this is where the podcast, is such a light. I see all the positives that come from podcasts and sometimes social media posts and memes and all the reels or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like the acknowledgement and validation is huge. And just for somebody to listen to for instance, Maddox, his whole thing with how much music was therapy for him.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's another human being out there that listened to that and went, okay, so I'm not a weirdo for relying so heavily on music.
Right.
There's that connection. There's that aha moment. There's that
Yep.
validation of your feelings. There's that acknowledgement. And those to me are priceless.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I agree.
And that's where social media can be positive.
Yep.
There are positive things to that. That's where podcasts can be such a good tool. It's just how you put it out there. And for you, running this, I hope that you really kind of gear towards that and making sure that it's a positive experience and making sure that and I think social media is only going to amp that up for you to reach those people. I mean, I could go all over town and talk about your podcast.
Right.
And everybody's supportive and everybody will listen and everybody's great. But let's branch out.
Yeah,
There's
you got to
people
break
across.
through.
Yeah.
You gotta
And
break
social
through.
media is going
And
to do that
social
for
media
you.
does that. Yeah, you're exactly right.
I'm excited
I agree.
for you.
I am too. I think it's going to grow in an exponential way. I think that's great, and I do. And the other thing is because I, as the host, get excited because I want other people to hear who's across the table from me too. That's the part to me. I learn so much from these interactions. So there's two things that I really think in my mind that I want to happen is, one, we start to have actual human interactions again. COVID took that away from us for a while, and I feel like we're struggling to get it back. And I'm not just talking about being rowdy at the bar. I mean, really being able to connect and have conversation with other people. And I really would like those discussions to start here at the table in the podcast studio, in the Vertigo studio. Let's plug the new studio.
Yeah.
And, but I think it's just important that people have conversations because we can solve so much when we're just willing to sit down and have a conversation. And the other thing is too, as you talked about with struggle, and Maddox's story is such an incredible story. If you haven't listened to the glow up of Maddox yet, go back and listen to that episode because that young man has just an incredible story. And I really did enjoy recording that podcast. Now, to Sean and Zach, you goofy fuckers, I also loved recording those as well. But that's the thing. I want this to have that time and space for all of us to be able to get together. So we can have serious moments, we can have funny moments, we can talk about parenting and what that's like, but we can also talk about the deeper stuff about I was at a point where I was at my darkest and had to figure out how to climb out. And I want that,
And to celebrate too. I mean, you and I live under the same roof. We're married. You and I are vastly different.
in some areas,
in a lot
sure.
of ways,
Yeah.
And you're the yin to my yang and all that good stuff.
Right.
But we love and accept each other.
Absolutely.
And that is huge. You can be different from the person next to you.
Absolutely.
And still love them. And we've lost that. And so I do hope that, table conversations happen more so than computer conversations.
Yeah.
And just love the guy next to you. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Just love him, and
you're right.
You don't have to like everything about him. I'm sure.
I'm
sure Sean just rolls his eyes when I walk away.
No, it's not. No, I think
it takes a lot to put up with me, and the guy gets an A+ for sure. But he loves me unconditionally, and sure, we're married. We're in that type of relationship, but you can do that with your neighbor. You can do that with the guy at the grocery store. You can do that in your friendships. You can love people where they're at and how different they are.
It's funny you mentioned that because that came up in the pilot episode when Zach was here. We talked about
Love that kid.
and we talked about the golden thread,
Yeah.
and how I have kind of turned my back on a dedicated or said religion because of all of the dogma that comes with it, and we can talk about that some other time, but the golden thread that connects us as people, right? Whether you believe it's an energy, whether it's really not a golden thread though, people. So let's just be careful of that. But there's this community of, or not community. What's the word I'm looking for? There's this energy of love and acceptance that we need to have
innate
with people.
behavior that we all have.
Yeah. And it kind of connects us, And I definitely agree. Man, we have covered a lot on the. We're already an hour in.
I know, and
It goes by fast, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit of fun, kind of de-escalating from the seriousness. But this is the first podcast you've ever been on,
Yes.
right? You've never done this before.
No.
And so, how did it feel? Because we want to have other guests come on. So, how did it feel never being on a podcast before? Now, I know obviously I'm your husband, so you probably have a little bit of a different perspective. But how did it feel being on the show for the first time? Because we need to get other people on here. It can't just be family all the time.
Because I thought I was like cool cat this morning having my coffee. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go on a podcast. Whatever. This is freaking cool. I got this. And I walked into the room and Sean's sitting at the table and I all of a sudden felt sick. I felt like I was in an interview. I'm like, holy shit, my boss is sitting here. Like, it was the weirdest. And then I'm like, oh my God, do I have to like perform? And I don't. It's really cool. But at first I was like, why do I feel like I'm sitting down with my boss and having an interview or some kind of like...
It is a different feeling.
It is. But the minute, the mics went on and we started chatting, it was awesome. I love it. We need more people to come in and just, chit-chat and have these conversations. I love perspective. I love walking in other people's shoes.
Yep.
I love seeing things from other people's point of view, their life story. I have a friend that works in town, and she is the coolest energy ever. And, long story short, she gave me a little snippet of her childhood, and my jaw dropped. I wouldn't have imagined.
Right.
So it just goes to show, like,
we don't know.
Until we have those conversations, because I sit and chew her ear off when I go and order my drink.
We can plug them. You want to plug them? I think that I love plugging local business. We don't have to drop names, but you can tell them where you go.
Yeah, Real Nutrition.
Real Nutrition.
I love that place. So,
That's right.
I go in and I talk to those ladies, and sure, they're professional, and they run a business, and they make my tea, and they're freaking awesome. But they're the coolest damn people ever.
Right.
And because we have those 5, 10, 15-minute conversations, I know this. I wouldn't know that on social media.
Right.
Conversation. So I just let's do it.
Yeah.
Have more people at this table, and even other podcasts.
Yeah.
Get those conversations going. Get those face to face. It felt really good to sit here and just have the conversation.
Isn't it great? I love
awesome.
it. Yeah. So in closing, I'm going to say a couple of things. One, for right now, at least at the time that this episode drops, you can absolutely email myself, and actually Minna is my business partner in this, and she is actually going to be kind of my quote unquote manager. I don't know if you know that yet, but you're going to help schedule guests. And
looks like my interview went well.
So for right now, for the time being, until we get those social media tags up, you can email me at vertigopod. That's VERTIGOPOD @gmail.com. vertigopod@gmail.com. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, you can go ahead and email that, and we will get you scheduled. Currently, the way that recording goes, because we've never talked about this, we are recording episodes on Sundays. I will give you the deets when you email. And like I said, please, if you're digging this podcast, share it with a friend. Let them know that you've been listening to it. Also, at the end of this episode, there is going to be a poll for you to kind of chime in and give your opinions on how you feel the episode was. There'll be some questions on there about what your favorite episode has been so far, so look for that. And anything in closing that you want to say before we sign off?
No, I just appreciate you. I appreciate this. I appreciate other podcasters.
Yeah.
You know,
No, it's
I think
definitely-
it's huge.
Yeah. More and more, I think people are I think podcasting has become like the new information sharing.
And can I just add one thing too?
Of course you can.
Because it just kind of hit a
course.
light bulb for me. I have a newfound respect for podcasting. I mean, obviously listening to my son Shawnee, who has Mabel Talks.
Mabel Talks,
Love
shameless
that dude.
plug.
Love that dude. You know, listening to him, listening to your podcast, our kiddos and the other guests that you've had, there is something to be said about your tone, hearing your voice. Again, and you can take that back to social media. Social media doesn't give you that.
No.
You type something and
Yeah,
you
there it
either
is.
sound like an asshole or you don't.
Right.
Here, you have
Inflection.
Yeah, you know, and so I have a new respect because I could say something kind of dark or serious, but laugh, or you know, you just your tone takes a whole different takes it to a whole different level. So for anybody who does do podcasting, hats off to you. This is cool.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
definitely a great
yeah.
medium. Yeah, so let's keep it rolling. I think podcasting, it's obviously been around for a while.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. It's a medium that just is continuing. Like, it hasn't hit its peak yet.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy because it's been. I mean, I first discovered podcasting way back with the iPod, the original iPod, which, gosh, I couldn't even tell you when that was. Early 2000. It was right around that time. So you're talking about practically 25 years and possibly more of people podcasting, and we haven't even hit the stride yet. Like, there's so many shows
I think
that
it
are
fell
popping
back
up.
when social media platforms, and I think it's now busting back through because
Yeah, I agree.
maybe we aren't the only ones that kind of see, you know, where social media platforms
Yeah.
fall short.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Perfect.
podcasting's coming back, and
And Vertigo is here to stay.
it's been awesome.
So thank you, Mena, for coming in today. You know, again, drop us a line, vertigopod@gmail.com. Look for those social medias. They will be coming soon. And again, thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. And Vertigo listeners, keep your head spinning.